Hello and welcome back to another episode of Neighbors Cooking. I am your chef and host, Mitch, and I'm having so much fun in the kitchen today. It is just killing me. So the other day I was at the grocery store and I found this beautiful chuck roast on sale, which is even better. And so I picked up these two beautiful chuck roasts and I decided I was going to make a pot roast and just, throw it in my crock pot and call it a day. But they were huge chunks of chuck steak, really beautifully marbled. So I went ahead and made one, and then I had all these leftovers. So sometimes you just don't know what to do with leftovers, and you can only eat so much pot roast one way. So I decided to get creative again. So I went ahead and got some puff pastry and a second handling or a second set of ingredients to make this up. So we're going to do this puff pastry that we're going to put inside some of our leftover pot roast, some of our onions and our mushrooms and our carrots that were in it, and we're going to put that on top, and then we're going to put it up with some mashed potatoes on top, and we're going to put a carrot in it, and we're going to bake it, and we're going to have these great puff pastry popovers, I suppose would be a great, that has our leftover stew in it. So we're going to start off with, how do you make pot roast? Everybody makes pot roast a different way, but I'm going to show you how I make it. And then however you decide you make it is entirely up to you. So for me, let's have a look at the ingredients here first. So I got this beautiful 2-pound pot roast. So if you're doing pot roast for a family of 4, 2 pounds is probably not going to be enough, or you certainly won't have any leftovers. But since it's just me and usually Joe here, although I do have a guest from my friend Randy is here, 2 pounds, 3 pounds is more than enough by the time it all cooks down and shreds up. So I've got this beautiful chuck roast, really beautifully marbled. I've got a cup of red wine. I've got a cup of carrots that I've already kind of cut. I'm going to cut them up a little smaller. I've got 1 yellow onion, 2 or 3 stalks of celery, whatever it is you would like. I've got a cup of beef broth, fresh rosemary, fresh thyme. And then I took some carrots and I cut them down and I made these cute little carrots. Ooh. And those are going to be what we put in top of the mixture that we're putting in the puff pastry. I've got 2 tablespoons of condensed tomatoes, and I've got about 4 or 5 ounces of olive oil. First thing, I also have mashed potatoes. You're also going to need some puff pastry. So let's get started with how we're going to make this. So we're going to start off, and I've already made my mashed potatoes. We're going to start off by getting our pan hot. I've also got my oven turned on to 300 degrees, which is what we're going to end up putting our concoction that we're making, our puff pastry. I don't know what to call them, Joe. Puff pastry.
Popover.
Popover. A puff pastry popover. Say that 3 times fast. All right, so we're going to start off getting our pan hot. I always have more things in my kitchen than I need. We're going to put some olive oil in it. Just a little bit. We've saved some for the rest. We're going to put some salt and pepper. Lots of salt and pepper on this. Now, I've taken this out and brought the beef to room temperature, which is what you want to do. If you don't bring it to room temperature, you end up burning it when we're trying to sear it on each side. Lots of salt, lots of pepper on both sides. How was your day, Joe?
It was good.
Starbucks busy?
A lot of coffee and yes. Spring break for a lot of folks.
So when I was on the phone with you, I heard you taking an order, and it was something like some lime, lemon concoction. What was that? It was like a limoncello or something. I don't know. It was some weird drink. I don't know what you were making.
I don't remember.
Age will do that to you.
Seriously.
So we've got a nice hot pan here. You can tell when your oil's hot when it's glistening, not bubbling, because we're not trying to fry this. Turn this up just a little bit more. So while that's heating up just a little bit, I'm going to cut my onions. You know me, I love my trusty mandolin. I'm not trying to show off where did my little thing go, Joe? Benny, did you steal something from me? All right, well, I guess I am going to show my knife skills. Strange. You know, all the best preparation in the world, and you still end up missing something. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this onion in half. And we're just going to cut it into slices. I just got my knife sharpened today, so nice and smooth. Do you like pot roast, Joe?
I love pot roast.
And it's so easy to make. The nice thing with this recipe is you can make your pot roast, let it simmer and cook all day. And we're just rough chopping these. There's no rhyme or reason. All right. I can smell my hot pan over here, so we're going to take the meat and we're going to sear it on both sides. And that beautiful sizzle is what you want. And you're going to let it sizzle probably for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes on each side, depending on how hot your pan is. These are my ironclad pots and pans, so they get really hot. Because they're stainless steel, they're clad, and they're... Alexa, stop. That's my reminder to get out my dish that's already almost done for us. Let me have a look at it and see how it's doing. Probably a couple more minutes. Alexa, remind me in 10 minutes to take out my puff pastry. What did we do before Alexa? Did she listen? Alexa, give me a reminder in 10 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Take out my puff pastry.
Okay, I'll remind you.
It's like having your own little kitchen assistant who doesn't talk back to you.
Well, she does sometimes.
She does, doesn't she? Sometimes she's like, yeah, whatever. Or she just starts to. Thank you, that's all, Alexa. Joe, you keep track too for me too. Good, I don't need an answer. Thank you, Alexa. All right, why do we say thank you to Alexa? I don't know, do you? I talk to her like she's my buddy. I think I'm lonely, I don't know. So we got that going on. In addition, we took 2 or 3 stalks of celery, whatever it is you'd like to add. And then I've got all my little carrots. Now I've steamed these carrots because they probably wouldn't cook if they were still raw for the 30 minutes that they're in the oven. So I've steamed them a little bit so that I don't have crunchy carrot when we start to put all these together. You're also going to need a pie tin, just like this. You want deep pie tins. You want the big muffin tins, all right? And then we've got some puff pastry and some flour. So I've got my onions cut up. I'm going to take my carrots next that I've already sliced on the mandolin. I don't know where my, still don't know where that is. All right, and we're just going to rough chop these. Because remember, we're putting all of this mixture inside of these muffin tins when we're done. So you don't want something that's so big and so thick that it doesn't fit inside of the beautiful thing that we are making here. Let's turn this meat over, have a look at how it's doing. Beautiful. So this is what you want, this beautiful brown that is on here. And what we're doing is we're searing in that flavor, so we don't have, so we're keeping that sear in and we're keeping those juices in, so as we start to cook it, it's just going to fall apart and become so tender. You also want to use a chuck roast or another heavily marbled meat, because you want all those juices and things to put together. And chuck, after it's been in your crock pot for, in this case it was 6 hours today, it's going to all fall apart and it's just going to be delicious. So we got that going, we got our onions, and we've got our carrots, and we've got our celery. Now if you're using a red wine, use something like a Cabernet, or really a Sauvignon, not a Sauvignon Blanc, that's a white wine. A Cabernet or a red wine. Don't use a cooking wine because those are just bitter wines, kind of like my ex. So you don't want to use that. You don't want your ex in your food, okay?
We all got a bitter ex.
We all have a bitter ex, don't we? All right. So I've got that going. We're going to put my little tray here. We're going to take that out. We're just going to let it rest there for a minute. And then we're going to take the rest of our olive oil, put it in the pan, and we're going to take all of our beautiful vegetables, the onions, the carrots, the celery, and we're going to put it all here. And we're going to start to cook those up. I did forget one ingredient. I'm going to get it out of the oven. Well, actually, I've got some in here. So you're also going to want some garlic, some minced garlic, and I have some garlic that was in my olive oil. I forgot I mixed it in there. So we're also going to put this garlic into the mixture. And just start to saute it all. You don't have to cook these all the way through. You're just kind of getting a nice little reduction on it, because it's going to end up going into your crock pot. Or I have this other crock pot that can be also done on top of your stove. And just like a crock pot, I can leave this on my stove on low light for 7-8 hours. And it's really a wonderful piece of cooking. It's from Pampered Chef. It's called Rock Crock. And it's a great tool. So while those are going, I'm going to put my meat into this crock pot. Beautiful. I know I was at Costco today and they wanted, for 4 ribeye steaks, $120.
Nice.
I'm like, it should come with a chef to cook it for you, right? For for 4
Seriously?
of them. For 4 of them. They weren't even like, thick ribeyes. They were maybe, this thick. They were good size, but $130 a ribeye. I am not inviting people over to dinner with $30 a ribeye. It's that simple. I am a poor chef. So while those veggies are going, we're going to take off our rosemary. So this is fresh rosemary. I buy living herbs. So just holding the stem, you're going to come right down it and gently pull off all the rosemary. You don't want the stem. There we go. And you don't have to cut it up or chop it up or anything else. Just grab by the top of the stem, come straight down. And you will have all of your rosemary without any of the stick. This is like a toothpick, so you don't want this unless you want to use it for later in your food. And more. And then we also have thyme. Now thyme even has a thicker stem on it. So I find you've got to really do it stem by stem. Otherwise you end up with a bunch of wood chips in your herb mixture. And thyme is such a gentle and fragrant little herb. There we go. And you just need a few twigs. If you want to put them all in, you can. But it's really up to you, your flavor. But when this all comes together, it is so delicious. So we've got our onions and our carrots all sauteed. They look beautiful. The next thing I'm going to do is put in our red tomato paste, or red, kind of an oxymoron. And we're going to mix that in. And we're just blending these flavors. When you're cooking, it's important to build up your flavor profile. So you're going to do one on top of another on top of another, so those flavors start to blend together. You don't need a whole lot in this. Check my oven. Looking good. All right. While that continues to saute, I'm going to take my beef broth. Make sure it's beef broth. Yep. I'm going to put that over my meat, and we're going to bring it up about halfway the depth of the meat that you have. And then I'm going to take all of these herbs. I'm going to put those in. Again, they don't have to be chopped up. They're all going to disintegrate in the broth as we're cooking our pot roast. That's so good. I'm going to keep letting that work. Now, like I told you, I already made some mashed potatoes. I cooled them down and they're going to be ready. And we're going to use an ice cream scoop when we get ready to put them on top of what we're making, all right? So next thing's next. Now, I'm not trying to give the Palm Springs Baker any competition, but I am about to roll out my puff pastry. And let me tell you, it makes me a little nervous. But it will work out. Keep that going. Here comes the fun part. The mess. I take a little bit of flour. I've got marble counters, so I'm just doing it right on my counter. I just want it to be, if you have a pastry mat you want to do it on top of, you can do it on top of that. I've taken my puff pastry out and I have defrosted it. You're going to open it up and take out your little wax paper inserts. And then I use a wooden, should I use a beat my ex with? I use a wooden rolling pin because it's just better. So, a little bit of flour on top, a little bit of flour on the bottom. Look out, Palm Springs Baker, I'm coming for you. And you're just going to roll this out. And you want to get it to the same, you want to get it a little bit larger than the pan that you're going into because you're going to have to compress it down inside. So starting from the bottom, start to roll it out. There we go.
This is a reminder.
Thank you, Alexa.
About the puff pastry.
All right, thank you. All right. Alexa, stop. All right. And you can be kind of aggressive with the pastry. It's not going to fall apart on you. And then you're going to roll it out to the center. Roll it out to the center. Trying to keep the rectangle shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. That looks about right for me. Maybe a little more. Let me turn up the oven real quick. That's coming along nicely. All right. So all of our vegetables have all cooked together. We've got a nice little glaze going on. And the next thing we're going to do is put our red wine and deglaze this pan. Don't worry, the wine won't get you drunk. It's just going to cook off. It'll be fine. If you don't want to use red wine, you could just use 2 cups of beef broth instead. But, you know, the flavor really comes out when you add the Cabernet. It really gives this deep, deep flavor. The other thing you can add to this, and I have it in the recipe, it's optional, you could put cremini mushrooms. So if you want to slice up some cremini mushrooms, you could also put those in on top of when we're all done. So I'm going to take our veggies. We're just going to pour it over the top. Yum.
Move that way a little.
I'm going to move it that way.
All right.
We're going to put our flame down on low, put our rock crock on top of it, and then you're going to let this cook. If it's in your crock pot, you'd let it cook for about 6 or 7 hours all day while you're at work. If you're going to be home, you could use this because you want to kind of keep an eye on it because it can get a little hot. Or you could put it in the oven for about 3.5 hours at 350 degrees. But I think if you use either the crock pot ways, it's going to be a far better end result for you. All right, so we've got our puff pastry. Let me turn this back away the way I want it. And then you're going to take your rolling pin. You're going to roll your dough up on it. You see I haven't stepped on Benny today because I had to put a blockade at the door.
Benny's not happy.
He's not happy. We're going to bring our pan over and then we're going to roll this out. Where's my end? There we go. We're going to roll it out carefully. There we go. And then I'm just going to push it down with, I had a cup. I'll just use my fingers. So you're just going to push this dough down, starting at your edge. You don't want it to break. Push it down, push it down, push it down. There we go. It's okay if you've got edges. And then we're going to take our pot roast, move this over here. I'm going to take some of this leftover pot roast. It's all shredded up and beautiful. It's got the onions and the carrots in it. And then we're going to have all this great gravy afterwards for it. You definitely want this shredded up before you start to put it into your pan. You don't want really big slices. Oh, Benny, I know it smells good, doesn't it? All right, and then we're going to take some of it. You're going to put it in the bottom here.
Benny.
Benny doesn't appreciate the barrier. Benny, there will be plenty on the floor for you when I'm done. All right, in it goes. A bit more. And now you can see why you want bigger muffin pans, because you really need to get some room in here for everything we're making. All right. There we go. All right. And then if I have any veggies here at the bottom, I'm going to take those. And we're just going to put some of the onions and the veggies on top. Carrots. I put cremini mushrooms in this one. Not too much moisture because you don't want the puff pastry to get wet or soggy. Speaking of which, let me check it. It is coming along. All right. So we've got that, and then we're going to take our mashed potatoes. We're going to put a scoop of mashed potatoes right on the top. Oops. There we go. And then I'm going to take a little carrots that we cooked up earlier. I might have to cut them down just a little bit so that they don't stick up too high. All right. I'm going to put the carrot right through the middle with the green top on top. I used yellow and orange carrots right through the top. To the top. Look how cute that is. Mm-hmm. Now this is a great Easter's coming up, so this would be a great Easter meal, simple and easy. And you will wow your family and friends. Let me just wipe this down here a little bit. If you can't tell, I'm trying to buy some extra minutes. All right. I think this looks really good, so we'll go ahead and take it out. Look at that.
Ooh.
Doesn't that look good? Let me turn this off. So we've got this beautiful puff pastry that's puffed up with our mashed potatoes and our pot roast and the onions and the carrots and everything inside of it. I'm going to take this little pizza cutter and we're just going to cut right across. Right in the middle. How's that, Palm Springs Baker? Ha! And I should have left my oven on. I'll put those back in a minute because Joe's going to take some of those home to his partner. All right. So, come on, be nice and come out. Not you, Benny. Oh, the pain of being a gay man's dog.
Mm.
All right, here we go. Up we come, and look at that.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that's nice.
It's delicious. And then we're going to take our gravy. I'm going to put it over the top. And there we have puff pastry pot roast. Voila. So delicious, so good. So now I'm going to be the taste tester today. And just see how creative I actually was. So let's get some pot roast and some puff pastry in there.
It's hot.
I always tell Joe it's hot when he's a taster. I tell every guest it's hot, and every guest dives in and takes a mouthful of hot steamed food. And they pretend it doesn't hurt because they're like, oh, so good. All right, here we go. You get this crunchy puff pastry coming in with this delicious leftover pot roast, and it is so good. So I hope that you'll make this at home. It's easy to do, and you'll impress people. I mean, look at this. That is just really to die for. The carrot is cooked thoroughly, so it's good that I steam them in advance. I think if you put the carrot in raw into this, it probably wouldn't cook. It was in my oven about 35 minutes. That's about all you need, and that's it. So I hope that you'll follow us, share this recipe, and snap some photos if you did this yourself. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week, right back here on Neighbors Cooking. In the meantime, have a great week. Oh, I want to remind everybody, on Saturday, there is that wine auction over at Hope Church. Was that the name of it? I can't remember. Hope Church. And I'm the auctioneer, so I'm also auctioning off a 4-hour chef package. So come Saturday, bid on some great wine, and maybe you'll take me home. I mean, my talent. We'll see you next week right here on Neighbors Cooking. Have a great week. Bye.